Hi, how you doing? Thank you for joining me again. So what I'd like to do today is explain a little bit more. I've done this in a few of my other videos, but I want to just explain this specifically around about what we call the stress bucket. The stress bucket. So it's maybe a term that you've heard of before, maybe you haven't heard of it sometimes, the pressure cooker within the mind or something like that. But what we want to do, the stress bucket, quite simply a bucket. The stress bucket is a little area in the brain called the hippocampus. Sort of sits in the centre, the lower area of the brain basically. The hippocampus, or the stress bucket, is a little library of the brain, and it stores all of the inappropriate thoughts, the inappropriate feelings that we might have, those patterns that we keep going over and over again. It stores the good ones as well in there, in the hippocampus, but all the problems of the day, in the month, in the weeks, months and years in fact, they're all stored in that stress bucket, in of course what is the hippocampus in the brain. So what happens is that when we go through something that's maybe a traumatic experience, very small all the way up to the large ones of course, then what happens is it will have that memory. Of course, something happens, we see it, we have a memory of it, and we'll get a little bit in the bottom of our bucket. Fine. Let's just imagine in modern day times, of course, you've had a lovely morning, lovely breakfast with your other half, your family or whatever it is. You jump in the car and you drive into work and somebody cuts you up and it's a really kind of nasty kind of experience and you think, oh, I don't really like that at all. And of course that memory of that frustration will have been put in there. That's fine, it's not a big deal of course. The issue is of course is that if we fill our bucket up a little bit too much. So there's always going to be things that happen in life and that's fine, and we'll deal with things that come into our bucket maybe up to here. Let's just say you wake up in the morning, of course what I'd like you to do, and I'd like to hope that you do, and certainly as I do, you wake up with a nice empty bucket because your brain has dealt with all the stuff. So let's just say that you have 20% in your bucket of the day, and that's just normal things that are happening. It's the pressures that you have at work perhaps, the deadlines, the KPIs, all these different things that are going on, of course the personal issues that you might be having at home as well. That all deals with that 20% there, and that's absolutely fine. So what happens at night during the REM sleep period, REM, is you deal with all those stresses and the strains, and they move from that problem-focused area, the hippocampus, the bucket, and it moves up into the nice intellectual area of our brain, the bit important where you have control over things. So we like to kind of talk about books or templates, if you like, books and templates in the library, of course, in the bucket here, and we can imagine the template there, the thought, that frustration, whatever it may well have been, that person that cut you up, or your boss who was a bit sharp with you, or whatever frustration you have in life, of course, that template that is floating around in there, and of course it has emotion attached to it. Doesn't make you feel very good. So what happens during the night, during that REM sleep period, is REM sleep is rapid eye movement, left, right. We diffuse the emotion from the template and it moves it from there to there. In other words, it moves it out of the bucket up into the intellectual cortex, the bit important that we have control over it. So that's how we deal with the stress and strains of the day, and that's how we keep nice, rational adults. So what fills a bucket up more? Overthinking, over-worrying, over-analysing. So there we are, before you know it, we're getting up to a half-full bucket. So you're dealing with the normal bits and pieces, and then you've got all these extra things. Why did he say that? Why did that happen? Why did that happen last week? I hope that doesn't happen tomorrow. All these thoughts that are going through, completely pointless, of course. You can't change the past, and you can change the future. So all these thoughts just going through the mind for no reason at all, apart from filling up your bucket. So at night, what happens during that REM sleep? You're restricted to about 20% roughly. So what happens, of course, is that you then get rid of that 20% that you were dealing with in a day. But you've got this residue in here. And then you go up and do some more the next day, and you worry more and more and more and more. And you can see before you know it, you get up to that full bucket. And that's when you're pushed down into that primitive part of the brain, and you can be feeling low, you can be feeling anxious, frustrated, and you don't have the motivation that you want at work or whatever it may well be. And you're living up here and you're thinking, I'm a good person. I do the things, I pay my taxes, I do everything I'm supposed to do. But for some reason, I can't seem to focus, I can't seem to get things right. I mean, I'm worrying about work, yes, of course, but I should be worrying about work because there's a lot going on. And it just seems to go up and up and up. And before we know it, the bucket's overflowing and things not working at all. Remember, REM sleep is restricted only to about 20% of that. So, full bucket, not good news. Empty bucket, good news. How do you empty your bucket? Positive thinking, physical activity, and positive interaction with other people. What does that really mean? Creating serotonin, focusing on how you want things to do, how you want things to be. Now it's endless, of course it is. You need to work out what the key principles of change are. You need to understand what change is, and my programs very much tell people that. The key principles of change, of how to implement them, how to implement the repetition of it, the necessity of repetition, the small changes, the marginal gains, how the evolutionary response, which I've explained to an extent here, how that really works. What belief is and how important that is very much key in terms of making change, because of course if it was easy, we'd all be doing it. But it's not overly difficult. And how can you make some difference? Start to recognise your thoughts, start to see where you are, quash those negative thoughts, and start thinking about how you want things to be. It's so, so powerful. So, hope that was helpful, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.